A Pilgrim's Progress, Chapter 3, Part 2. How far might I have been on my way by this time? I am made to tread those steps thrice over which I needed not to have trod but once. Yea, also now I am like to be benighted, for the day is almost spent. Oh, that I had not slept! Now by this time he was come to the arbor again, where, for a while, he sat down and wept. But at last, as Providence would have it, looking sorrowfully down under the settle, there he espied his roll, the which he, with trembling and haste, catched up, and put it into his bosom. But who can tell you how joyful this man was when he had gotten his roll again? For this roll was the assurance of his life and acceptance at the desired haven. Therefore he laid it up in his bosom, giving thanks to God for directing his eye to the place where it lay, and with joy and tears betook himself again to his journey. But oh, how nimbly now did he go up the rest of the hill! Yet before he got up, the sun went down upon Christian, and this made him again recall the vanity of his sleeping to his remembrance. Thus he began again to condole with himself. O thou sinful sleep, how for thy sake am I like to be benighted in my journey! I must walk without the sun. Darkness must cover the path of my feet, and I must hear the noise of the doleful creatures because of my sinful sleep. Now also he remembered the story that Mistrust and Timorous told him, how they were frighted with the sight of the lions. Then said Christian to himself, These beasts range in the night for their prey, and if they should meet me in the dark, how should I shift them? How should I escape being torn in pieces? Thus he went on his way. But while he was thus bewailing his unhappy miscarriage, he lifted up his eyes, and behold, there was a very stately palace before him, the name of which was Beautiful, and it stood just by the highway side. So I saw in my dream that he made haste and went forward, that if possible he might get lodging there. Now before he had gone far, he entered into a very narrow passage, which was about a furlong off the porter's lodge. And looking very narrowly before him as he went, he espied 2 lions in the way. Now, thought he, I see the dangers that Mistrust and Timorous were driven back by. The lions were chained, but he saw not the chains. Then he was afraid, and thought also himself to go back after them. For he thought nothing but death was before him. But the porter at the lodge, whose name is Watchful, perceived that Christian made a halt, as if he would go back, cried out unto him, saying, Is thy strength so small? Fear not the lions, for they are chained, and are placed there for the trial of faith where it is, and for the discovery of those that have none. Keep in the midst of the path, and no hurt shall come unto thee. Then I saw that he went on trembling for fear of the lions. But taking a good heed to the directions of the porter, he heard them roar, but they did him no harm. Then he clapped his hands and went on till he came and stood before the gate where the porter was. Then said Christian to the porter, Sir, what house is this, and may I lodge here tonight? The porter answered, This house was built by the Lord of the Hill, and he built it for the relief and security of pilgrims. The porter also asked whence he was, and whither he was going. Christian, I am come from the city of destruction, and am going to Mount Zion. But because the sun is now set, I desire, if I may, to lodge here tonight. Porter, what is your name? Christian, my name now is Christian, but my name in the first was Graceless. I came of the race of Japhet, whom God will persuade to dwell in the tents of Shem. Porter, But how doth it happen that you come so late? The sun is set. Christian. I had been here sooner, but that wretched man that I slept in the arbor that stands on the hillside. Nay, I had notwithstanding that been here much sooner, but that in my sleep I lost my evidence, and came without it to the brow of the hill. And then feeling for it, and finding it not, I was forced with sorrow of heart to go back to the place where I had slept my sleep, where I found it. And now I am come. Porter. Well, I will call out one of the virgins of this place, who will, if she likes your talk, bring you in to the rest of the family, according to the rules of the house. So watchful the porter rang a bell, at the sound of which came out of the door of the house a grave and beautiful damsel named Discretion, and asked why she was called. The porter answered, This man is on a journey from the city of destruction to Mount Zion, but being weary and benighted, he asked me if he might lodge here tonight. So I told him I would call for thee, who, after discourse had with him, mayest do as seemeth thee good, even according to the law of the house. Then she asked him whence he was, and whither he was going. And he told her. She asked him also how he got into the way, and he told her. Then she asked him what he had seen and met with on the way, and he told her. And at last she asked his name. So he said, It is Christian, and I have so much the more a desire to lodge here tonight, because by what I perceive, this place was built by the Lord of the hill for the relief and security of pilgrims. So she smiled, but the water stood in her eyes, and after a long pause she said, I will call forth 2 or 3 of my family. So she ran to the door and called out Prudence, Piety, and Charity, who after a little more discourse with him, had him in to the family. And many of them, meeting him at the threshold of the house, said, Come in, thou blessed of the Lord. This house was built by the Lord of the hill on purpose to entertain such pilgrims in. Then he bowed his head and followed them into the house. So when he was come in and sat down, they gave him something to drink and consented together that until supper was ready, some of them should have some particular discourse with Christian, for the best improvement of time. And they appointed Piety, Prudence, and Charity to discourse with him. And thus they began. Piety. Come, good Christian, since we have been so loving to you to receive you into our house this night, let us, if perhaps we may better ourselves thereby, talk with you of all things that have happened to you in your pilgrimage. Christian. With a very good will, and I am glad that you are so well disposed. Piety. What moved you at first to betake yourself to a pilgrim's life? Christian. I was driven out of my native country by a dreadful sound that was in mine ears, to wit, that unavoidable destruction did attend me if I abode in that place where I was. Piety. But how did it happen that you came out of your country this way? Christian. It was as God would have it, for when I was under the fears of destruction, I did not know whither to go. But by chance there came a man even to me as I was trembling and weeping, whose name is Evangelist, and he directed me to the wicket gate, which else I should never have found, and so set me in the way that hath led me directly to this house. Piety. But did you not come by the house of the interpreter? Christian. Yes, and did see such things there, the remembrance of which will stick by me as long as I live, especially 3 things, to wit, how Christ, in despite of Satan, maintains his work of grace in the heart, how the man had sinned himself quite out of hopes of God's mercy, and also the dream of him that thought in his sleep the day of judgment was come. Piety. Why? Did you hear him tell his dream? Christian. Yes, and a dreadful one it was, I thought. It made my heart ache as he was telling of it, but yet I am glad I heard of it. Piety. Was that all you saw at the house of the interpreter? Christian. No, he took me and had me where he showed me a stately palace, and how the people were clad in gold that were in it, and how there came a venturous man and cut his way through the armed men that stood in the door to keep him out, and how he was bid to come in and win eternal glory. Methought those things did ravish my heart. I would have stayed at that good man's house a twelvemonth, but that I knew I had farther to go. Piety. And what saw you else in the way? Christian. Saw? Why, I went but a little farther, and I saw one, as I thought in my mind, hang bleeding upon a tree, and the very sight of him made my burden fall off my back, for I groaned under a very heavy burden, and then it fell down from off me. It was a strange thing to me, for I never saw such a thing before. Yea, and while I stood looking, for then I could not forbear looking, three shining ones came to me. One of them testified that my sins were forgiven. Another stripped me of my rags and gave me this broidered coat which you see. The third set the mark which you see on my forehead and gave me this sealed roll. And with that he plucked it out of his bosom. Piety. But you saw more than this, did you not? Christian. The things that I have told you were the best, yet some other matters I saw. As namely, I saw three men, simple, sloth, and presumption, lie asleep a little out of the way as I came, with irons upon their heels. But do you think I could wake them? I also saw formalist and hypocrisy come tumbling over the wall, to go, as they pretended, to Zion. But they were quickly lost, even as I myself did tell them, but they would not believe. But above all, I found it hard work to get up this hill, and as hard to come by the lions' mouths. And truly, if it had not been for the good man, the porter that stands at the gate, I do not know but that after all, I might have gone back again. But now I thank God I am here, and I thank you for receiving of me. Then Prudence thought good to ask him a few questions, and desired his answer to them. Prudence. Do you think sometimes of the country from whence you came? Christian. Yes, but with much shame and detestation. Truly, if I had been mindful of that country from whence I came, I might have had an opportunity to have returned. But now I desire a better country, that is, a heavenly one. Prudence. Do you not yet bear away with you some of the things that then you were conversant withal? Christian. Yes, but greatly against my will, especially my inward and carnal cogitations, with which all my countrymen as well as myself were delighted. But now all those things are my grief, and might I but choose mine own things, I would choose never to think of those things more. But when I would be doing that which is best, that which is worst is with me. Prudence. But do you not find sometimes as if those things were vanquished, which at other times are your perplexity? Christian. Yes, but that is but seldom. But they are to me golden hours in which such things happen to me. Prudence. Can you remember by what means you find your annoyances, at times, as if they were vanquished? Christian. Yes, when I think what I saw at the cross, that will do it. And when I look upon my broidered coat, that will do it. Also, when I look into the roll that I carry in my bosom, that will do it. And when my thoughts wax warm about whither I am going, that will do it. Prudence. What makes you so desirous to go to Mount Zion? Christian. Why, there I hope to see him alive, that did hang dead on the cross. And there I hope to be rid of all those things that to this day are in me an annoyance to me. There, they say, there is no death, and there I shall dwell with such company as I like best. For to tell you the truth, I love him, because I was by him eased of my burden, and I am weary of my inward sickness. I would fain be where I shall die no more, and with the company that shall continually cry, Holy, holy, holy. And we'll pause here, and we'll continue with the story in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.